What's up, everyone? I am excited. I'm excited to be here, and we're already getting orders. So I wanted to start off by in the chat. Can you throw in there what has been the probably most important thing that you've seen so far about the lab coat project? Go ahead and throw that in, and I will also. You might hear my phone going off. There's a sound that my phone makes every time we get an order, and it's like a cash register sound. And when you hear that, that means we are at one more order. Hey, Jasmine, good to see you. Thanks for joining. So, do you want to guess how many orders we're at right now? It's been 15 minutes. Hey, Andy. Important means important to you. What is something that you think there's one more? What is something that you think this project could do for your day to day? Something that it might help you in your work. Hey, Luca. Got an email from Luca earlier. Thanks for ordering. I hope you got your size just right. So, anyway, I will spoil it. Right now, we are at, let me refresh the page. There's another one. We are at 27 of the men's and 28 of the women's. So, good start. Let me get up 1 second. I'm going to close the door. My wife just came home from work. I got to tell her how it's going also. Hey, Chantal, I recognize you. Thanks for joining. So we are at almost 60 lab coats already, and we're only 15 minutes in. So I'm excited. I think this is going pretty well already. I was hoping for about 100 today overall. So anything, and that's a really good start. Uh, Chantal says all objects fitting in pockets, no buttons popping off because my hip pockets are full. That showed up like probably 20 times in the survey comments, and that's something I'd never personally experienced, and that's why we do the survey, is because no one can be like everyone, and collecting all of that feedback and all of those responses is what we really need to do to figure out how to solve these problems for everybody. Um, there was a classic pizza commercial where a guy is a pizza delivery driver, and he has to, every time he slams on the brakes, he has to reach over and block the pizzas from flying through the windshield. And then after several times this happening, he has his girlfriend in the car, and he has to do the same thing. Just out of reaction, even though she has a seatbelt on, so he doesn't really need to. And that's the reaction that people said that they had with their lab coats. They would have, these pockets up here and a bunch of tools and things inside of it. And every time they would lean over, they have to hold their hand up here to make sure that nothing falls out because they're so used to just everything spilling all out of the floor. So that's one thing that I definitely try to fix. That's what this pocket is for. We have 5 dividers. Might go down to 4 for the final version. It's a little bit up in the air right now, 4 or 5, and they each kind of have a different size and shape to hold different types of tools. Chantal also says, my last lab coat currently has 2 buttons still attached right now. 2 is better than none, but I'm thinking you should have something like 5 or 6 probably, right? 10 trillion, Andy says 10 trillion pockets, the option between a stylish neck and a Howie cut, and the hip strap to adjust fit, and the snap-on buttons, obviously. That is checking all of the boxes. And that's one thing that really surprised me in the data. I was expecting people to want the collar up, just because it's like safer, and I think it honestly looks like a little bit more modern and maybe more stylish. But 3/4 of people actually wanted the down collar, but a lot of people aren't allowed to wear a down collar in their lab for safety reasons. And I think most of us should try to get away from it as long as it's comfortable. I think most people wear it down because it's not comfortable. It feels like they're choking them a little bit. So for instance, we made sure to leave this open so that when you can reach forward, there's another order. When you reach forward, you can have some give it your neck and the buttons a little bit lower. Some of them are the buttons even higher. Lets this kind of open up just a little bit too, so that it's not choking you when you're reaching forward in a fume hood. And then Andy also says the last one is a deal breaker, but the ones before made me follow the lab coat project specifically. So the deal breaker he said was the snap-on buttons, and I totally agree. My first lab coat, actually, so I have to confess, like before I even started this project, I bought a lab coat online just to have one with the Genius Lab Gear name embroidered in it. Just I figured I would need it for some photos or something, and it is so bad. It is so bad. It's a red cap one, and it's like 80% polyester. Um, the material just kind of feels like hard and kind of scratchy, and it's got these big plastic buttons. And there's a video, I think it probably put in one of the emails or maybe one of the blog posts. I made some GIFs of me trying to unbutton this as fast as I could. And it takes forever. It takes like, honestly, like probably 15 to 20 seconds to unbutton it. And I literally remember I make jokes about this. I remember I'd be in lab and then I'd hear people going down the hallway. They say, "Hey, Derek, we're heading to lunch. You want to come?" And I say, "Sure." And then, how fast can I get out of my lab coat to join them and walk over to eat lunch with them? And I'm here. I've got these big plastic buttons, like Andy said, and I'm just trying to, oh no, try to get them out as fast as I can. Um, so that's when I finally made a switch to snaps, and I've never gone back. And honestly, in the survey, most of the people that said that they prefer buttons, which is maybe only 20 or 30%, the plastic buttons, a lot of them said that they had never tried the metal snaps, and a lot of people said that once they tried the metal snaps, they would never go back again. And so the thing that people don't like about metal snaps is sometimes they don't look as nice. So the doctor's coats have these big snaps or these big buttons, almost like a suit. And the metal snaps, though, if they're like little and silver, they kind of look cheap sometimes. So that's why we really want to do these dark snaps, and that's what all the beta testers got. Liz, hi Liz, thanks for coming. Liz's pictures on one of the product pages, and she was one of the beta testers, so she was super helpful. So she has this one, which has the dark snaps, and like you saw in some of the stories, we couldn't we couldn't go forward with that because the finish wears off. It's like a pretty strong finish, but some of the beta testers lean over that black ceramic laptop fume hood all the time, and it really scratched it off. And those are brass underneath, and so like the gold of the brass starts to show through. So we had to go back to stainless steel, but they look pretty dark, honestly. I actually have one right here. Um, well, those are a little bit lighter, but the ones we're going to use, they actually look pretty dark, except under like really bright direct light. Yeah, Liz also noticed some of the wear, and this is why we test. Honestly, I'm not sure that any other lab coat has been sent out to like 30 people to use in their job before they launched it. So I'm really happy about that. It did cost a lot of money. I think we'll make that back over time as we get this out there. So overall, really excited. So quick update. Let's while I update this, any other questions you guys have? I'm here just to answer any questions you have. Throw it in the chat. Any comments? Anything you thought was interesting, funny, weird, whatever? Um, put it in the chat and let me know. So now we are at 30 of the women's and 29 of the men's. All right. So we are still moving. There were I turned on my camera to take a video of it, but within 2 minutes of me turning the buttons on to allow the order in, my phone just started like bing, 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 like every 10, 20 seconds, new orders were coming in. So that was super exciting because I've been so nervous about this the whole time. About I know that we made a a lab coat that is probably the best out there for scientists, and that's what most of the beta testers said. The question was, will people buy it for themselves, and are they willing to ask their bosses or their advisors or professors to buy it for them? it because normally you don't necessarily buy your own workwear. Your employer can handle that. And so, can we get those employers on board and convince them about the difference that it can make in somebody's day when they have better workwear and they feel better and are more productive at work? So that is a challenge. I don't doubt that this will sell well if we had all the traditional channels available. Um, but until then, we need individual orders from people who just want to go get their own, or if they can convince their professors to get them. And then once we get enough reviews and we really have like this body of evidence to say this is the best lab coat for these types of scientists, then we can go to the bigger distribution channels and take it to a university and say, do you want to switch this to our lab coat instead? Same thing, the laundering contracts are really hard to get into. So that's a big barrier for us as well. But that's why we need like this social proof, this body of evidence showing that this really is a big improvement from what they're currently using. So Andy says shipping. Why is shipping like 50% of the price of the coat? It depends where you live. In the United States, it should normally be like 8.50 to maybe $11, depending. California is like and Alaska are a little more expensive. Um, and in Europe, it's I think probably 20, 25. If you use UPS, it's like 30 or 35. Um, the furthest places in the world with DHL, it is like $50, and I hate that. Canada, yeah. So we actually have, and you put in there. How much did you pay for the shipping in Canada? If you don't mind saying, we've worked on getting our shipping costs down a lot because we got a new service that lets you do lighter weight items a little bit less expensively, but it just takes longer. But most people are willing to do that trade off. So we've been able to get it down a little bit. But yes, shipping is expensive, and I did a little video about this. And if you ask my wife, $30, the dollar reduced. Yeah, I'm sorry. We're at the mercy of UPS and DHL and all the other international carriers and what they charge. And the lab coats weigh about a pound and a half, um, and so they're not super lightweight. There's another one. Two more just came in, so um, it's they are a little heavy, and the $42, Chantal. Thank you. Thank you. I know it's international shipping is expensive. And for all you guys on the stream, if you find people later, if you find friends or colleagues that want to order one also and they live, they work with you, email me at dmiller@geniuslabgear.com, or any of the emails you find on the website will work. And I can update your order. And then it will basically send your credit card a new charge for the updated cost, but you can bundle the shipment. And so the shipping one lab coat is the most expensive per lab coat. Shipping two is only usually like 10 or 20% more expensive. And then shipping like 10 is, maybe twice the cost of shipping one. So if you're able to add more people to your order and bundled all together, you can get the shipping cost per coat down to $3 to $5 maybe, depending on how many other people you get on board. So Andy says at least it'll arrive probably if you send it to via Canada Post, it would arrive after the heat death of the universe. I do think about the heat death of the universe sometimes, and it's kind of sad to think about, but inevitable, I guess. Yes, Jessamine, thank you for ordering. Probably one of those beeps I got was yours coming through. So thank you so much. Man, and I've seen a lot of Instagram activity. Luckily, not many people have. I was ready to answer like a lot of emergency order and chat questions, but so far it's pretty clear. Um, Anything else? Like, put in the chat. What else has? I guess what was the reason? What was like the one thing? Maybe you heard about a few things beforehand. What was the one thing that convinced you that okay, I'm gonna order. I'm gonna order this. This is going to be something that is going to improve my day to day. Put that in the chat. What is something that changed your mind? Because you probably heard me talking about this a long time ago and thought, we'll see. And then at some point, at some point you changed your mind and said, okay, I believe in this. I think this will work, and I think this is for me. And I will update this one more time to see where we're at. All right. We're at 60 total now. All right. Good day so far. And then the uh, the other post will go up on social media at 2 p.m. So hopefully we'll get another boost there. We got a lot of orders right in like the first 15 minutes, just before I jumped on the call. And I think at 2 p.m. we'll get a bunch more. Um, Jasmine, so we're at 60 lab coats right now, and I saw at least one was donated because I set up an email to myself when those happen. Let me see. Oh, 3 lab coats were donated. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Mark. I know, Mark, you're not on here as far as I can tell, but thank you. He was one of the beta testers. Christine also sent in a donated lab coat, and Paula Kennedy also sent in a donated lab coat. So thank you. If you ever see the replay, that's that's really huge. I did get some comments. People like, I love your project, but I don't need a lab coat, or I don't work in a lab anymore, and so that's why I made the donate option. Um, so back to my question. Okay, Jasmine, we need 600, and how I landed on that number, we're at 60 right now, and we need 600. So 10% of the way there. Pretty good for the first half hour. But it will definitely slow down. And what I'm worried about is we get like, 1 or 200 pretty, over the first week, and then it really slows down. And then that's when we need everybody else to help. Uh, one more. So I landed on 600 because multiplying basically the numbers out, it's going to cost us about $50,000 to get the lab coats into our warehouse, which is in Knoxville, and get them all ready to ship, including all the manufacturing costs and shipping and import duties and everything. Um, and I wanted to raise half of that. It's okay, Liz. Uh, there's probably a lot of time to get the discount here today or tomorrow. Um, it's going to cost $50,000. I want to raise half of that because I have a very small business, and putting up that amount of money could totally just ruin us if the whole project flopped. So the crowdfunding half of it. There's another one, 2 more actually. Awesome. Crowdfunding the whole project, half the project, makes sense to kind of de-risk it. We have orders that we know we're going to be able to get in there. Um, and the math works out that crowdfunding half of that $50,000 is roughly 600 lab coats total. So that's how we got to that number. And because we have to pay for the lab coats to the manufacturer well before they're delivered. And so there's even probably going to be a gap where I'm going to have to float a lot of that money anyway for a month or two, at least on my half. So 600 is the goal, and what's going to happen, I'm pretty sure, is we're going to have to rely on a lot of the individual people who ordered to, or might be stuck at 200 or 300 or 400 lab coats, and rely on all of you to go find friends to add to your order, or go, do you have a professor or a boss that is in charge of 10 people, and can you bundle that all into one order? Because it's those like 10 lab coat orders that would make us get to the goal really, really fast. So that's what I hope will work eventually. And we have 6 weeks to get there. But the sooner we get there, the sooner we can start the manufacturing, because it's going to take 4 months for the manufacturing, 1 month to ship them and get them in stock and sorted and inspected and everything. So if we cut that 6 weeks down to 2 weeks, then instead of roughly 6 months for everybody to get their lab coats, it's down to like 5 months. And then we can look at like the start of next semester, late January, early February, instead of, late February, early March, something like that. All right. Hey, another one. Awesome. So back to my original question, Andy said what changed his mind was price was not much that much higher than the sad coats sold by my uni. It just looks much better. That that's honestly, what I'm really happy about is I think if another random company started this, they would probably try to charge 70 or $80 for this lab coat. We had a very specific price target based on what people said they were willing to spend on something that they thought was really good. And I think we're literally, if you dove into the price charts, I think we're literally spending roughly twice as much money on the materials as like this crappy red cap lab coat that I held up earlier. But we're not charging twice as much. And this just goes to being, there's another one, another lab coat came in. So it just goes, and one more. All right. So it just goes to kind of running lean, to making sure we're not overcharging for advertising and models and marketing and things like that. That helps to keep the price down a lot. And then let's see. Jasmine says, I didn't notice anything about embroidery during checkout. Is that an option only for bulk orders? No, we don't have that set up yet. My warehouse in Knoxville, I don't own the warehouse, it's their professional warehouse. They have an embroidery provider that they've worked with in the past, but we have to like set up the systems and everything and the customization, and that takes a little bit of time. So probably a month before the lab coats are ready to ship, uh, I will send out to everybody that ordered the option to add embroidery. And what you can do is follow that link. You can go pick your options, like write the text that you want, pick the colors and the font. Like we'll probably have 3 to 6 different fonts and 5 to 10 different colors. And it's probably going to be like $8 to $10 to add like 3 lines of text. And so one thing I did, if I have it here, the pocket protector. So this version of lab coat has the pocket protector right here. And it might be mirrored. This is my left side. And so normally you would put the text right here. So I think what we're actually going to do is we're going to flip these pockets. So the pocket protector will go over here, and then this divided one will go over here. Then you can put your text over here and it won't really be in the way. And then, so that'll be like $8 to $10 probably to add that. It'll add like a week or two to the shipping time because we have to send it to the warehouse. That does the embroidery, and then they have to send it back, and it takes a little time. And then the logos, we can also do logos. It'll probably be $25 to $30 for one logo to be digitized, and then maybe $5 to $10 per logo placement. So that gets a little bit expensive. The logos might only make sense for a group order because you have to basically you send a logo, and then we have to professionally digitize it, which requires like a trained artist to import it and adjust the file for the embroidery machine. So that costs actual money to do, and then we also have to pay the money for them to actually put the logo down. So that is a work in progress, but we'll send out more. One more. All right. So let's see. Back to the questions. Lucas says he was sold by the comfort, the practicality, and the style. Awesome. And comfort, I'm so glad the comfort like came through maybe in the videos and the photos, because digitally you can't try this on. You can't tell if it's comfortable or not. Um, but I had a poll of from scores 1 to 5 on for the beta testers, and the average was like dead in the middle in terms of too hot, too cold. And then in terms of how soft it was like skewed past average towards the soft. And that was not even the final material. We made it even softer in a follow-up iteration, and I posted a video about that. So I'm glad that came through, Luca, and I'm glad you can tell how comfortable it is. Just loving the little pings. You're doing great. Thank you. I usually have my phone on silent, so I don't get those normally. This is just a fun time to turn it on and listen, because every ping is 1 or 2 lab coats closer to our goal. Jessamine says, I only have 2 more years left in my PhD. I hope production starts soon. Definitely. Yeah, if everything goes smoothly, you should get it in February. So should have like a solid year and a half left. And then Andy's question, are colors coming soon? As soon as we can do them is I almost tried to work it into this launch. The hard part with the colors is the manufacturing. So right now, if you go search for colored lab coats, you will find like a lot of colors available from a few specific big companies. and they're usually only available in like the really cheap materials, and that's because they have minimum orders of fabric that they have to make. So our textile supplier has to make 5,000 um, linear yards, and it's a yard long, so basically 5,000 cubic yards of a single material, and they are willing to do half that amount in per color. So we could do a new run potentially of like 5,000 yards of material, and it takes about 3 yards to make a lab coat. 5,000 yards of material, and then they can dye it into two different colors. And I almost tried to get half of the production run to be blue, and then I got new pricing, and the price to dye it, it increases the price of the fabric by like 20 or 30%. So I wouldn't be able to hit the promise of the $50 lab coat for that. So we will circle back to that. It should be, it might be like $5 more expensive, maybe eight, maybe $9 more expensive to do the different colors. So we're going to do polls on that, and it's basically limited to the sales volume. So if these first 2,000 that we have to order are selling pretty well and pretty steadily, then it's not that much of a risk to go do a manufacturing run of like those 5,000 yards of the top, say, two colors that people want to do, and then we can make those into both men's, women's, um, and start stocking those in lower quantities. Jasmine, I found your site from a Reddit post, by the way. Awesome. Yeah, we got a lot of traction on Reddit. Honestly, we needed 1,000 survey responses to start the development. That was my goal for starting to spend money on this. And we got to like 400 or 500 based on our email list and social media, and then we kind of stalled out for a little bit. And then I got onto Reddit and started posting those on Reddit. And from there, we got like another 400 or 500 pretty quickly. So Reddit was huge, and a lot of the people on the pre-order list originally found us through Reddit, including a few of the beta testers. All right, and then Chantal said, "Yeah, which social media platform has been the best to spread info on?" Um, Probably Instagram. It's weird. Like we did I don't think I have any right here. The Science is for Everyone stickers that we helped do a fundraiser for PhD Balance like 3 years ago. Those sold super well on Twitter because we had a few key people on Twitter that were basically doing the selling, the marketing for us for their own fundraiser. And Twitter went just bonkers for that, but very little on Instagram. And then I've had so much trouble getting traction on Twitter or X. Nowadays, it's just most of the stuff doesn't matter how much thought you put into it. It just, one like and nothing happens. So I've mostly stuck to Instagram, but that's also why I've really been trying to get more people onto the email list because that's a much easier, direct, like single channel. Right now, there's 8 different places I have to post. Awesome. One more came in. There's like 8 different places I have to post to talk to people. So Instagram's kind of the core one, and it's a very visual thing. So Liz says, "What happens if we go over 600?" Yeah, that's a good question. We're not going to stop the pre-orders. It'll just go up to the regular price once we get to 600. But it would be great if we could sell all 2,000 before they're even delivered. And then if that happened, we would just probably start another manufacturing run, maybe in a higher quantity. I'm going to wrap this up in just a couple seconds because I have to take care of these orders and I see a few customer emails. Um, and then let me get to the last couple questions because you guys have all been great to talk to. I also have the Instagram one at 2 o'clock. I think you can, I'm not actually sure. I think you can actually hop on live and like we can actually talk inside a chat. Why not put this up on a crowdfunding site for visibility? Great question, Andy. Kickstarter charges 15%, and that would erase most of the profit. And so we would actually like not make money on all the lab coats, and then the pre-order wouldn't actually help us in the long term. So by doing it on Shopify, which I already have and I already pay for, we don't lose that 15% of the margin, and that raises money to help put back into the next orders, which we can hopefully do like smaller pre-orders for because it'll be less risky. But agreed, Kickstarter, like we could get more visibility, but also those are really good for like gadgets and more mainstream things. And lab coats designed for scientists and not for medical field is probably a smaller audience on Kickstarter, and we could definitely get some extra traction there. It's just the extra cost would make it totally not worth it for something that's this low margin. Jasmine says, happy to be a beta tester for any new products. I can stick the stickers on my forehead. I don't care. Awesome. Thank you, Jasmine. Yeah, so we're probably going to launch new styles in the future based on either different fields of work. The maternity lab coat, I really, really, really want to do. And we will need new beta testers for those. If we change the sizing, we change the proportions, we'll need new beta testers. So um, when we get to that point, I'll like send out an email to everybody doing a call for a new round of beta testers at that point. So I think I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you all for joining in. This was fun. I've never done a YouTube live stream before, so it's fun to get on here and try this out. And I'll see you maybe at 2 o'clock on the Instagram channel. And thank you for your orders. And don't forget, tell some friends. And if you want to update your order, if you have a friend that wants to lump their shipping in with yours, let me know. And just email me and we can manually adjust the order. So thanks everyone for your support. Have a great day and I'll talk to you later. Bye.